Okay, with great pleasure, we welcome back to the show former Vice President Mike Pence, who is down at the RNC meeting in New Orleans with a cast of all-time greats. I'm just looking at this, Mike. You got Mr. Trump's down there, Senator Scott, Republican leader Scalise, my pal Kellyanne. It's a glittering group, and you're going to glitter with us. We appreciate you coming back. You know, Mike, I mean, this is a lot of. This is almost like Alice in Wonderland with the Mad Hatter. So this morning, the Labor Secretary, and it's not personal, by the way. He's just doing what he's been told to do. He tells my great pal Stu Varney that even though oil prices are up to whatever they're up to, $115 a barrel, there's no plans to put oil and gas back on the table, quote unquote. So there's no drill. And at the same time, Mike, there seems to be plans to complete, maybe within hours, a new nuclear deal with Iran that would include removing all the sanctions. So let me get this right. We can't drill here. We're still buying Russian oil, and we can't wait to buy Iranian oil. Mike Pence, there is something wrong with that calculus, it seems to me.
No, Larry, there's everything wrong with that scenario, and I appreciate you having me on. What's happening in Ukraine is a travesty. The Russian invasion of Ukraine, the senseless bombing of civilians, 1 million refugees have already crossed the border, and this administration continues to hesitate to impose sanctions on essentially the lifeblood of the Russian economy. I mean, the reality is we need to continue to arm the Ukrainians so they can defend themselves. We need to sanction all the financial institutions in their sector. But the time has come for the United States of America to impose an embargo and sanctions on all oil and gas exports from Russia. I mean, to have this administration actually announce last week to make the point that their sanctions have no effect on the energy sector, and then even to have the administration's press secretary defending that only 10% of our oil imports come from Russia. I mean, people are dying, Larry, and the American people understand that every dollar that we send to Russia at $115 a barrel is being used to finance this war effort in Ukraine. We need to impose those sanctions. We should not be negotiating with Iran or working with Russia to restart the Iran nuclear deal. And for heaven's sakes, President Biden ought to demonstrate real American strength, restart the Keystone Pipeline, let loose the dozens of oil and natural gas leases that have been tied up from the advent of his administration, and set America back on a path toward energy independence. That's the only pathway forward to stopping Putin in his tracks, ultimately getting him to withdraw from Ukraine. But I have to tell you, I have never seen an administration getting more wrong at once in a time of crisis in the world than we're seeing today.
You know, Mr. Vice President, they're kind of sneaking around, right? So all attention is on Ukraine, as I suppose it must. But, you know, we spent some time on it last night on this show, and I'm glad to see now more prominent in the media. Doing an Iran deal under any circumstances, I think you would agree, sir, is a lousy idea. They lie, cheat, and steal. All they're doing is developing nuclear reactors. They're very close to it anyway with the enrichment. But to do it now, to reward Russia, who is their big ally and, you know, godfather in the Middle East, who's at the we shouldn't even be at the same negotiating table with Russia right now, it seems to me. And then, you know what's going to happen. They're going to make a case. Biden will get up there and say, well, Saudi Arabia didn't give us enough oil, but Iran will give us enough oil. I mean, that's just enough to pull your hair out.
Larry, I think it'd be shocking to the average American here in Louisiana or anywhere across the country to think that at a time that Russia is invading Ukraine, that the American administration is actually working with Russia to restart the Iran nuclear deal. I mean, it number one, on its face, makes no sense. But you're absolutely right. I mean, when our administration came in office, President Trump ended the Iran nuclear deal, because not only did it not prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, it essentially guaranteed that they would have a nuclear weapon in a 10-year period of time. And now what we're hearing about these negotiations is they're back on the 10-year time window. The only difference now, as we read in the newspapers today, is Iran has more enriched uranium today than they had at the time that we got out of the Iran nuclear deal. Look, we isolated Iran as never before. I'm going to be in Israel next week meeting with the new prime minister, the former prime minister, the current president of Israel, and I'm going to make it clear to them, whatever this administration is doing, the American people stand with Israel, and we need to expose any deal this administration agrees to for what it is and make it clear that the next American administration will get out of that deal every bit as quick as the Trump-Pence administration got out.
Yeah, boy, every bit is quick. You're right, sir. The cavalry's coming, just can't come soon enough for me. Let me switch gears, if I may, to the State of the Union speech, where basically Mr. Biden tried to reimpose or reignite or restart his so-called Build Back Better. He didn't call it that, but it's the same laundry list of social spending programs which will then be deficit financed, and the Federal Reserve will pump in money, and it will, the inflation rate is going to go from 7 to 10. All right. My question to you on that, I mean, I'm sure you and I agree on that, but I'm saying this. Can the GOP put together an alternative message? Let's... Newt Gingrich and I have talked about it. Let's look at a balanced budget over a period of time with lower taxes, make the Trump-Pence tax cuts permanent, stop spending, freeze spending, which is what Phil Gramm wants, make sure that we have workfare and work requirements, which Joe Manchin has proposed. Rick Scott, I guess he's in some kind of brouhaha, but at least he's got an alternative plan. I'm looking for an alternative fiscal plan to stop the spending and the taxing and the regulating, Mr. Vice President. So I'm coming to you on my knees for help.
Well, it's coming. We need a freedom agenda. You're absolutely right. And an agenda that's built on everything that we learned from Reagan to Trump. And that fired the imagination of 74 million Americans, created unprecedented prosperity, a strong military, strong conservatives on our courts, protected the liberties of the American people. And I got to tell you, I've been working with over 50 conservative leaders in the coming weeks. Larry, I'll come back and tell you about it. We're trying to collate that very thing. But I got to tell you, I've seen a lot of State of the Union addresses. I've sat behind the president for more than a few of them, but I couldn't believe President Biden's State of the Union address, not because he came back with the same tired, more taxes, more government, socialist programs, Build Back Better, Green New Deal. But at the beginning, Larry, did you notice he's actually said we need to have secure borders, we need to fund police, we need to open schools, and we need to buy American. Literally, when he paid lip service to aspects of our agenda, I thought a half page of what Nancy Pelosi ripped in half might have drifted or stayed on the podium, and he was reading. I mean, literally, what you saw was President Biden literally acknowledging we've got the winning agenda. We've got the winning agenda, and here at the RNC Spring Retreat in Louisiana, I'm going to talk about that. And to have President Biden, who is sitting atop essentially a left-wing socialist Democrat Party, still feel the need to pay lip service to core aspects of our agenda tells all you need to know. We're going to come out. We're going to offer a positive agenda. We're going to focus on the future. We're going to win. We're going to win the Congress back in 2022, and we're going to win back America in 2024. Yeah,
well, cavalry is coming, save America. The thing is, though, it's amusing, and you're quite right. He's mouthing Trump-Pence administration policies. He says, no, let's not defund the police. But, Mike, he says, but we got to hold the cops accountable, no chokeholds, no knock door entries, this, that, and the other thing, cameras. So he doesn't really mean it. It's the same thing with the border, right? Yeah, we got to stop the border. The trouble is they're not going to go back to catch and deport. They're not going to go back to remain in Mexico, and they're not going to build the darn wall. So I don't believe a word of it. That's all. Not a word.
Well, no, all he said was we're going to secure the border, and then he advocated, really, I think, the broadest expression of amnesty that I have ever heard from a president of the United States at the podium in the well of the Congress. So you're absolutely right. But what they did was they tagged up on base of our winning agenda, and then went whole cloth into defending their failed agenda and trying to resurrect the Build Back Broke agenda that was already rejected by the Congress. And I have to tell you also, let me say with a heavy heart, to have the President of the United States fail to mention 13 American service members who lost their lives in that disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan was a great disservice to those 13 families and a great disservice to every man and woman in the uniform of the United States.
Yes, sir. Vice President Mike Pence, we appreciate you coming back on. When you have completed your Pence agenda for the future, which will, of course, include all the Kudlow tax cuts and the Phil Gramm spending pause, and you're going to knock down all the regulatory stuff, and we're going to grow. We're going to make the economy growth here. You will come back on this show. Yes, sir? Yes?
Count on it on both counts, Larry. We're calling it a freedom agenda, and you'll be the first to hear about it.
All right. Love it. Mike Pence, thank you. Good luck down there in New Orleans.